Check, check. Hello, hello. Been a hot minute. Been like 3 years actually. Oddly, I'm wearing third birthday shirt for my now oldest son. So yeah. So have two kids now. And that's probably pretty much why I haven't streamed. So we got our first foster son about 3 years ago. And the issue was with foster children, they don't sleep well, oddly enough. They have a lot of attachment issues. They get scared when people aren't around. So our oldest foster son ended up sleeping in my gaming room with me every night. He would go to bed at like a 2-year-old bedtime, and he'd sleep on the couch behind me, and then I'd put him in his bed. He would come back. He'd come into me and my wife's bed. Uh, so over time, nothing we could do about it. I couldn't stream because he was in the room. That wouldn't be okay. So we decided, we're going to get another foster son after we adopted him. And then when there's two, they're going to sleep in the same room. Wrong. So the other one, our youngest, he lived in a car with his mom. So when we first got him, the concept that like people have personal space was non-existent. He wasn't having it. So he ended up sleeping on the couch. But they didn't sleep well together. So then the oldest ended up sleeping in the living room, and then my wife ended up sleeping in the living room too, because if she got up, then he would come upstairs and the other one would come up, try to get in the bed, and then there's four of us in a bed, and it just wasn't working out. So eventually we got them these house beds, and that was the hit. They have their own house that they sleep in their bedroom, and now they sleep in the bedroom, but they have nightmares like almost every night. One of them has an issue. And then it's like the room's close enough where they could hear me if I was streaming, so I just haven't done it. But the family went on vacation. So I figured I'd do this. So I don't game as much as I used to. I still game. But since not streaming, the thing I've been doing a lot is reselling. So I was self-employed until I was 38. So my retirement was zero up until that moment. Then I started working for a food sales company. So I had a 401k, but when you start saving for retirement at 38, you're having a real uphill battle. Now I have a job that has a pension, which is cool. So like 21 more years and I'm fully vested. So that'll be a good check when I retire. And I have investments, but when you talk about retirement, it's the idea of like you have the stool and you want as many legs as possible so you don't have to go back to fucking work at some point. So, I got my 401k and I got my investments and stocks and reselling is my other leg. I use reselling to fund my investments currently, and then when I'm done working, I can do it full time. It's going to be not a ton of income, but it's enough. Looking at my, I've been doing this almost 4 years, I think. I started doing a little bit when I was still streaming, when I still worked for that food company. Traveling is when I got into it, because I was all over the state and I can go to a lot of different shops and kind of learn how to do it. But yeah, I gotta back up a minute here. So anyways, reselling being the legs of the stool, I lost my train of thought. Anyways, haven't done this in a long time. So currently using that as my investment. Income wise, I make between 5 and 12 grand a year on this, and it really depends on how much effort you put into it. If you do it full time, the algorithm is kind to you, and you tend to get a bit more stuff sent your way. Talk a little bit about algorithm and on eBay and whatnot. If you don't do it very often, you don't get hits. I think eBay figured out at a point, like, people come on and list everything in their house, and then nothing sells right away, and then they kind of just don't do it, so they don't show listings if you're not kind of actively doing stuff, because there's a good chance that you buy something that somebody threw away, or they're just not even going to log into eBay, they never send it to you, and it makes the company as a whole look like shit. So, right now I make that. You could make more. There are people that do this full time. There's a lot to it. We're going to get into how much there is to it. I specialize in toys, board games, and video games. So when I got into this, I did it the way a lot of people do, which is just listing stuff you have. Like, I'm just going to sell some stuff that I already own. And that kind of gets you that seed money, and then you start figured out what am I going to do? So I did toys and video games initially because I know video games very well. I've been a gamer since I was 7. So I can pick out systems, know what games are desirable, what not so much. And then toys, from being an 80s kid, I've seen a lot of toys. I kind of know stuff that came out when I was a kid, what was popular. And then I grew into board games over time. And I don't do a ton of board games because they take a lot of space. And we'll get into all that stuff as well. But that's my thing. There are people that do shoes, clothes, electronics, appliances. People that do this for a living do everything. You just have to constantly learn. So, start out talking about basic economics. And that's really, when you get into this, you're going to make mistakes. That's just going to happen. You're going to make some purchases that you shouldn't have. You're going to sell stuff at a loss just to get it out. Get out of your house. But, that's where you learn. You learn from mistakes. You learn from victories. And there's going to be a lot to learn. But no matter what you're selling, the concept of supply and demand, basic economics, actually works really well. So when you're standing there and you're thinking about buying something, if you ask yourself certain questions, it will stop you from making some really shitty purchases occasionally. So we'll talk about supply and demand. And supply, it's the graph, and I'm not going to put a graph on the screen. I didn't feel like doing that. So one part of it is supply, and one is demand, and the value is determined by those two factors. So when we talk about this, we have things that are high supply, meaning there are many of them, but also high demand, meaning there are many people that want them. So, an example of an item like that. This guy, Spider-Man. Spider-Man's been around a long time. Marvel comics have been around a long time. So that means they've been making products, comics, games, toys, for decades. And those things go on the shelves, they go into closets. There's a lot of these around in some form or another. However, there's a lot of superhero fans around. So what that means from an economic standpoint is, yes, you can buy these things, and you can sell them, and you can make good money on them. You have to buy them cheaply and sell them cheaply. And that's another part of economics, is the whole buy low, sell high, which in theory makes a lot of sense, except when you get into reselling, you want to buy low and sell sometimes low. And you do that because you are acquiring things when you resell. I have conservatively 2,000 of these. Not just Spider-Man, but I have at least 2,000 toys. That takes up a lot of space, especially when you get into board games. At one point, I think I had 110 board games. And I ended up whittling that down significantly because it took over a good quarter of my gaming room. So you could buy stuff and put it at a price that you would like. So if I wanted to sell this for $10, it's eBay. I can sell for whatever I want. It doesn't matter what that price is. It doesn't mean anything. The price is truly what people will pay. But if I was hung up on this, I can put it up for $10 and maybe 5 years somebody would buy it for whatever reason. Or I could put them up for $6 and maybe I sell them next week. And then I took that money and I turned it over. I bought something else rather than holding on for 5 years for an additional $4. So part of reselling is really kind of figuring out, and it's a mistake I made early on where I just priced stuff way too high. I would price it at a little higher than what the lowest selling price was. And I ended up holding on to a lot of shit for a really long time before I figured out, like, you know what? If I just drop that by a couple of bucks, it would go. So now I'm a bit more conservative, but when you deal with high demand, high supply items, the price is the key point. You know people want it, but you know there's a lot of them out there. So a guy like Spider-Man, I would actually put him in a bag with 2 other guys and sell him for $8, shipping included. I'd make $1 on him, so you gotta buy for very cheap. You know, Disney stuff, another example. Matchbox die casts, like most die casts are high demand, but they've been making them for decades. There's a lot of them around. So the other end of that is we have this guy. And ignore the fact that it's Christmas Mickey Mouse, but it's a Pez dispenser. Pez dispensers. There's a lot of these around. There's not a lot of people that want them anymore. This is a high supply, low demand item. And you run into this in a lot of areas. McDonald's toys are classically not worth really anything, because what is a higher supply item than something that's being given away with a cheeseburger? There's tons of them out there. And every once in a while, people get the idea like, oh, this is going to be the one that's worth a lot of money. Squishmallows came out, like Squishmallow keychains, and people were going crazy. Whatever you spent on those Happy Meals, you will never, ever get that back. They're not going to be worth a lot. So you have things that are high supply because they're all over the fucking place, and a low demand because they're all over the place. Nobody's looking for these. The other thing that runs into this is like the Pez dispenser, stuff that was formerly collectible and is now not. Precious Moments figurines, Pez dispensers, Pops are getting into this territory now. Beanie Babies are historically the most popular, where there were individual Beanie Babies that were selling for $800 in like the late 90s, early 2000s. Those you could not give away. I did buy a Beanie Baby at one point, and I did sell a Beanie Baby at one point. And I bought it for like $3, and I think I broke even on it. The supply of these was incredible. Not as much as a McDonald's toy, but the demand is the important thing. It is not, nobody is looking for them. Everybody that has them is looking to get rid of them. People do not buy them anymore. So that's a cautionary tale. And again, when you think of supply and demand, when you're looking at stuff, be like, oh, people love these. Do they? People loved Pez dispensers. It was the quirky thing to collect. I do sell them. I end up buying 5 gallons of these for $20. I'm still sitting on half of them. I've made my money back, but I'm still sitting on half of those 2 years later. So I learned that lesson. You know, I could just throw them out right now, but I got the space, and eventually maybe I will throw them out. But so that's your cautionary tales. Don't buy stuff that people aren't buying anymore. People that own it still have it, doesn't mean they're actively collecting it. And then as time goes on, people get rid of stuff. And Pops is the one that people are figuring out now. Oh, these aren't fucking worth anything, because nobody's buying them anymore. And they made so many. I probably have a Pop. You probably have a Pop, and you don't even know it. You could order those custom Pops, I'm pretty sure. But every bit of media has Pops in them, like built around it, so people get those. The only time I've actually had success with Pops is ones out of the box, because you can get them very cheaply and sell them cheaply, and people will buy them because they're not going to buy the one in the box at an inflated price, because they just wanted the thing on their desk, or they wanted to play with it or something. So things that were formerly collectible fall into that category of high supply, low demand. Now we're going to talk about the key thing that you want to find. And you're not always going to find it. And we're going to talk about like how you need to perceive this in order to find really good stuff. So this is Crusher from Blaze and the Monster Machines. This is not super valuable. I will sell this probably for $10, shipping included. I buy Blaze and the Monster Machines stuff constantly, and I sell it constantly. So, this item is low supply and high demand, and it's very important we get into why. So that's typically something reserved for collectibles. And when I got into this, my thought was like, oh, I'm going to go to the thrift store. I'm going to find some Transformers or He-Man and G.I. Joes for when I was a kid. And they're going to be worth big bucks. Yeah, sure. But you're not going to find them. You're going to find them sometimes. In the 4 years I've been doing this, I found 2 Gen 1 Transformers. And I sold them fucking immediately for good money. But if that's all I ever looked for, I would have sold maybe 5 items at this point in my life rather than 1,000. So you have to think a little different sometimes. This is a good example of thought process and understanding what things are going to be worth down the road, and things that you wouldn't normally think would be valuable are. And the reason for this is the way we consume media now. Media in the world of streaming is immortal and timeless. These being 2 different things. So when my mom and dad were kids, they watched Howdy Doody and Little Rascals. That was the kids' shows of their generation. Then they had me. And when I was a kid, I watched Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and G.I. Joe and He-Man and Thundercats. Then I have kids, and we have streaming. They watch stuff from when, before I was born, and they watch stuff from the 2000s. They watch stuff that just came out, and to them, it's all kind of the same. They know they're like, oh, this is Daddy's Ninja Turtles. This is the old Ninja Turtles that you watched when you were a kid. And they watch that, and then they'll watch Bluey, and then they'll watch Hanna-Barbera. Because it doesn't actually go in their mind that it's different and that it is from vastly different time periods. The cartoon, from the 60s and then a cartoon that came out last week are very, very different. And because of this type of media now, this stuff has become immortal. So because it's so easily consumable and accessible, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, great example. My kids are obsessed with them. That was new when I was a kid. They watch it all the time. Their kids are going to watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and their kids will watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It will exist forever. Why Blaze is important is this show, which is on but has not been made in almost a decade. It was around in 2014. I think it was around for maybe 2 years. It was for whatever reason, they stopped making it. But you can find it on every streaming service. Whoever owns the rights to it gives it out. Whatever. They're making money on something that they own in a residual fashion. They stopped making Blaze and the Monster Machine toys 10 years ago. So the demand has gone up because kids that watch that might have kids that watch that now. But you can't find the toys in the stores. They don't make them anymore. So when you think about media, you think about things that are going to be endurant. When you find a toy, be like, okay, you know what? I might be able to sell this today, but I'm definitely going to be able to sell it tomorrow and actually for like a good amount of money. Because they're not going to make more Blaze stuff. In 10 years, this Blaze stuff might be worth $20 a pop. I'm not going to hang on to them for that long. I'd rather get the money, short money, and not have a ton of them. But that's an example of how streaming has changed media and how there's all these shows that are popular that don't have that retail factor anymore. Vampirina is a show. Gabby's Dollhouse is a show. Where Aquanauts. Like, you run into this stuff, and if you get used to seeing it, this is stuff you grab every single time. Aquanauts figures, I've sold figures, little figurines for like $15. They don't make them. It's popular, and that's how it's going to be. So while vintage stuff is cool, in 10 years certainly isn't vintage. Something to keep in mind, being up on trendy stuff like that. And a lot of what you get out of reselling, especially initially, it takes a long time. I'll get into like sourcing and everything, but you learn about this stuff with Google Lens, which is an amazing tool. If you've never used it, you take a picture of something and Google finds it on the internet, and that's how you learn about stuff. Is you take a picture and it'll pop up like, these are for sale for a lot of money. I'm like, oh, okay, now I'm going to learn all about this and learn what these things look like so I can pick them up in my travels. So the final component of supply and demand is low supply, low demand. And you might think, like, that's obviously I'm not going to buy that stuff, but you'd be wrong. That's why you got to think about it. So, example of low supply, low demand. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, there's green on this box. I didn't even notice. This is 1968 mint condition Monopoly. People love Monopoly, right? Absolutely, they do. Mint condition 1968 Monopoly. That's gotta be worth money, right? No, actually it is not. So, when I got into board games, I started grabbing a lot of board games. Like, this is old, this is old, this is old. And you find out, it's old, yes. Is it desirable? Do people want to play it? With Monopoly, the answer is no. For one thing, people don't really play Monopoly anymore. It's a terribly unpopular game, especially when you're on social media and you look at, people making fun of how long it takes and how, reminds you of like the fucking shittiness of your life or whatever. People don't really play board games in general anymore, and they gravitate towards different ones these days. There are some that are still popular. Monopoly ain't it. And when you think about Monopoly, the game hasn't changed at all. Nothing about it has changed. The Monopoly you can get today is the same as 1968, except 1968 has 2 extra pieces because families were bigger back then. Or you were more apt to have get-togethers that involved playing board games. So they had 10 pieces in 68. They knocked it back to 8. I think they're down to 6 now. So, in your mind, yes, it's in great shape, but you've lost the utilitarian aspect of it. People that are looking to play Monopoly are not going to buy this. And people that collect board games, this is actually a readily available old board game because they sold a ton of them. It doesn't mean it's a high supply. It means it's still a low supply item. There's very few good conditioned ones around, but they're just not desirable. And that's where you could get stuck. You got to ask yourself, are people looking for this? If they're looking for it to collect it, that's a very small amount of people. Some games that do well that are old are ones that were never reproduced. And that's more like the low supply, high demand thing of games that people played in the 70s that just, Parker Brothers didn't put them back out. And they liked that game and they want that game. There's few of that game. Big list of those. Not going to get into them. I don't do a ton of board games anymore, but I made good money on a lot of like 70s board games. Masterpiece, actually, is one that comes to mind. That was a Parker Brothers game about art, fine art, and I got one and sold it for like $80. Yeah, some older ones do well that were never reproduced, but again, if nobody liked it, it doesn't do well. I got stuck with a bunch of copies of Jumanji, which I thought, oh hell, like people liked that movie and people liked that board game, but no, people don't buy it. Nobody ever buys that game. I end up giving them away. But that over there. Well, that's a bit about the economics of stuff. So talk about sourcing. A big part of what you do is you have to source stuff, and like I said, I started just selling stuff in my house. I had extra video games, I had CDs, so I listed all that, and I took that money, I turned it over, I started buying stuff. And for what I do, which is toys, board games, video games, I do yard sales, but primarily I do thrift shops because they're not weather dependent, they're open all the time. You go thrifting. And then you got to figure out which thrift stores are good. It's kind of funny that thrift stores outside the chains kind of fall into these two categories. Ones that are run by like the elderly, and they sell everything for like $1, no matter what it is. And they go out of business because you cannot possibly keep your doors open doing that. And then the other side is usually also elderly or like housewifey, and they take in stuff and they look on eBay and sell it for retail, and they go out of business because nobody is paying retail price at a thrift shop. So you're going to find ones that work out, and they're going to go out of business, and you're going to be sad. But for a while, they're going to do pretty good. Nonprofits actually kind of evade that problem. Nonprofits tend to be, and Goodwill is not a nonprofit, just so we're all aware of that. Nonprofits, for whatever reason, I don't know if they get like cut rate rent or something to stay in operation. They always seem to do well, and they always seem to be cheap. So I look for those. I'm lucky to have one in the town I live in, and they're expanding, which is awesome. Because the Goodwill in my town stopped taking donations because they couldn't, because it was like dangerous for them. So that really cut into what I could take in as far as inventory. So that's gonna be good for me. We're gonna have 2 in town, and I had a different position with the company I'm with now. And I used to have like my haunts all over the place, and some would go away because they couldn't pay the bills. But I got some damn good stuff for $1. Last thing I got, part of this is you're gonna learn stuff. I went in knowing a little bit about certain toys, and then I think the first thing I learned a lot about was My Little Pony. Because I don't know how, but I ended up with like 50 My Little Ponies, like a suitcase of My Little Ponies for like $10. I was like, there has to be value here, but I'm going to have to learn all about My Little Ponies. And I spent about 2 days going through all of those. And now I can tell you that is a 6-inch brushable Gen 3 left side cutie mark Applejack. And I know my lingo, and I learned a lot about My Little Ponies, which I don't have any interest in, but I made good money on those. I sell those like literally almost every day. I buy as many as I can, and they go out the door. Again, they are timeless. There will always be My Little Pony fans. So the last thing I learned about was Nerf guns. I went into one of those aforementioned thrift stores where it's an old lady selling stuff for ludicrously cheap prices. So I went into this place, and it's, first of all, it's like a hoarder house, so you can't even walk in it. If there's other people shopping, it's a nightmare, and I hate it. And I'm not claustrophobic, but I just don't like tight spaces. I don't know what you call that, like mild claustrophobia. I don't like having people milling around in my personal space. But anyways, I went in there, and they had this giant bucket of Nerf guns, and I don't know a lot about it. My kids, I bought them a couple, and they're damn expensive. And I'm looking at it, and they're 50 cents per Nerf gun. And I'm like, you almost can't miss. Like, even if I just bought some and then handed them to my kids because they were worthless, I'm out not really any money. So I just, one of the rules of thrifting with toys is things that take batteries are valuable. If you think about, like McDonald's toys, they don't take batteries. They have a battery, but you never swap it out. You can't. If you made something that takes batteries, it's going to be a quality item. So I grabbed 2 Nerf guns that took 6 D-cell batteries, because that's a lot of batteries. That ends up being like a 24-volt motor is what that requires. So that's going to be a reasonable Nerf gun. That's going to be worth money. And I brought them home, and I looked into it. I spent 50 cents each, so wasn't really exposed on that one. And I looked at it, and I saw that they sold they sold occasionally and for good money. The parts, however, sold all the time for good money. And when you look at eBay, shipping is a big deal. And some of these Nerf guns are 30 inches long. As soon as you cross, I believe the threshold is 25 inches, it might be 26, you get this whole other shipping bracket where they're billing you per inch on an item. I'm assuming there's something to do with a truck, and it's obnoxious when it gets to that point. Like, you can't put them like end to end, and you've got to do something else, and they make you pay for that. So when you're looking at reselling, you have to understand that people have to pay for shipping, and there is a point where you will not sell something because the shipping's too high. But the parts are, if I do free shipping and throw them in an envelope, boom. So long story short, I sold all the parts for those Nerf guns for $35 profit after shipping in less than a month. So $35 for $1 spent is a pretty good turnaround. And this Monopoly, once I get sick of looking at it, that's going to be parts too, because they're going to take up less space. I do buy Monopolies because, so when you look at it, if I'm selling that, the shipping on it's going to be $10, and I don't do free shipping on large stuff because the dollar amount fluctuates pretty dramatically between going here and going to Oregon. But the parts, so you got a Monopoly. If I'm selling that for $10, $10 shipping, somebody's going to have to cough up $20. I am going to make roughly $8 on that after you get like your kickback from shipping, and then eBay takes its fee. So I'd get about $8, and I probably spent $5 on it. So that's the other part of that, is I make like $3. But if I buy Monopoly, and I got to get them for under $3, the money, the figures, chance cards, property cards, hotels and houses, you can sell all of them individually as a bundle. $8 shipping included, you make $3 per batch, $15 to the whole box. So if I do $3, sell everything eventually, and usually you just sell the money. The money sells very well. I don't know if it's something that, thinking about like the dynamics of playing a board game, if you spill a drink on a table, I'm assuming the money is fucked because it's really thin. And that might explain why people buy the money, or it might be like a practical joke thing, or it might be like throwing a party, and they just need fake money, and they think, oh, Monopoly money. The money always goes. I'm always selling the money. So depending on what you're sourcing, if you're in shoes, you got to go to different places. If you're into like higher end stuff, you have to go to different areas entirely. Toys are kind of a universal thing. Everybody has toys. I can go anywhere and get toys. But if you're looking for like designer handbags, you don't go to shitty areas. Obviously, you go to the rich parts of town or rich areas of your state, and that's how you would source Some people do Craigslist. I don't like it. I do Facebook Marketplace to purchase, but not to sell. And it's really just a matter of how much time you're willing to put into stuff. So, why don't we do some toy bags? Now, I wasn't intending for this to be a horse-related show, but last week, that's all I got. And understand sourcing. I go into my haunts and leave empty-handed more than half the time. I'm not going to buy stuff that I'm not going to make money on. I go through, and I go 3 times a week to the same places. So I see the same stuff every time, and I can just kind of go through and be like, oh, that was from that, that's that, okay. Oh, that's new. And I can get out. I bought something today, but I'll do that maybe tomorrow. But I thought this horse bag was a pretty good example of what I do. I might have to take it out if it's too reflective. Oh, that might work. Okay. When you look at these bags, what I do, and this is how they come at thrift shops. Toys always come in bags at thrift shops. Sometimes like a gallon bag. I got tons of those. Goodwill does these like really thin bags, which sucks because people rip them open and steal shit out of them. So what I do when I'm sourcing stuff is I go through the bag and I just look for something that's going to pay for it. This was $5, a big bag of horses. So I turned it over and I'll show you the guy that made me buy it. Of all the horsies, that's the one. It's really hard to see, but if you notice, right there and right there, horseshoes. What that tells you about this figure is that people put effort into it. Sounds dumb, but a lot of toys don't have that. They're not meant to be collected. They're not meant to be really handed down. They're meant to be purchased and thrown away at some point. And then as you get into better quality stuff, you start noticing these things. I'm going to open it up and go over what I see. And I'm going to do what I do is I sort. And then I start listing. So the reason I got it was for this guy. And the reason, I find a piece that I know will pay for the bag, and then I just grab it. I don't bother looking at it to kind of get value, because I know even break-even's not bad. Because having items for sale is good for your store in general. Moving items is good. You get, good reviews. So even if everything in here is garbage and it's the only thing I sell, and I paid for the bag, I'm good. In the world of horses, so that's a mare, and we'll get into why that's important. So, in the world of horses, you got, I should have probably put something where I could put stuff on. I don't know. I don't really think this through. You have, like, a tier list. So, in all toys, you have the bottom tier, which is unbranded typically. Sometimes branding is not on the item, it's on something else. But typically, unbranded or just made in China, and that's all it says. Greenbrier International or McDonald's. Those are the toys that are worth nothing. And not with McDonald's, there's exceptions. Obviously, really old McDonald's toys do sell, not for a lot, but if you run into something that's like 20 plus years old, you will probably sell it. Greenbrier International is the Dollar Tree brand. It's all trash. It's cheap trash. It's not collectible. Nobody wants it. Nobody's going to buy it. So that's your bottom tier. Then you have Breyer, which some people would say is the best. It's actually not. It's really low quality, cheap kind of crap. Like, for comparison, this isn't a Breyer, I don't believe. I noticed it in the bag. But this is what a Breyer horse looks like. White's maybe not the best color for It's like smooth, like cheap plastic. Really not a lot of detail. Like some detail, but not a lot. But for whatever reason, they're like the Q-tip of horses. Briar horses have people that they collect. They'll tell you, I collect briar horses. They're not interested in other ones. They want just those. And they're not great, but they do sell pretty well. Above that, you have like Chapmay and Papo, which are a higher quality horse and sell for about the same, I would say. I just put them above Briar because they're better quality. And then you have, like, above that, you have Safari Limited. And then above that, you have Schleich. Schleich is a German figurine company. And these I sell these at least once a week. I buy these any chance I get. But anytime I see figures that are animals, all I do is I comb through it and look for Schleich. If there's one Schleich in there, I'm good. I will sell this for, well, we'll get into listing, but typically on the low end, $10 up to like 35. Some of them. I have horses that sell for $35. I've sold Schleich stuff. I sold a stable for $80 that I paid $2 for. Very, very desirable, and they make collectibles the right way in that they make them for like a season, and then they retire that and they never make it again, and it makes it collectible. They don't make a shitload of the same thing and call it collectible. They make very limited amounts of stuff, and then you can never get it again, and that's why it's a high quality item, and that's why they're desirable. So when you're sourcing stuff, you look for detail. Like I said, now that I got it out, the horseshoes, anatomically correct, has nipples. If it was a stallion, you'd be able to tell. Like hair, like detail, like in the musculature. A lot of work went into this compared to see if I can get one that's not white. It's kind of shitty. Oh, another Schleich. Awesome. That's a shitty. Compared to, this. So when you're looking at toys, you can see this right here, this line through the whole thing. This is from when they make cheap toys, and I don't really understand why. I kind of think what they're doing is rather than have a mold that's one horse, they have like this front mold and then a rear mold, and then they can take a different rear mold and put it on this mold and make like different horses cheaply that are really just different combinations of molds. I'm guessing that's the only reason you would do that, and it ends up looking like ass. And it's worth nothing. This is a Greenbrier International. Actually, this one could break them in half. Never done that before, but yeah, okay. No, it's not exactly what I thought. Well, it is. They made, it's a hollow mold, and they fit together, which I don't know if you were supposed to be able to do that or not. I'd never broken one in half previously, but so it might be that, yeah, they assemble this afterwards, and then they can have a different like rear leg configuration. If you see that seam on anything, it's garbage. It's not collectible. It is not valuable. It's trash. So, oh yeah, I got that out for another reason. Weight. Weight is a great indicator of value, because if you put a lot of material into something, it is valuable. If you put less material in, it is not valuable. So I'm just going to weigh these while I was thinking of it. So the cheap horse weighs in at 2.1 ounces. The Schleich horse weighs in at 4.4. And they are the same size. Almost identical size, in fact. The camera reverse thing really bugs me. Yeah, they're basically the same size, and this one weighs twice as much because it's not hollow. So a lot of times, like a horse bag, I'll just pick up the bag, and if this weighed like next to nothing, I would just put it down. There could not be anything of value in it. It's too light. Vehicles, big one. Different like vehicles, different action figures. They just feel cheap, and the plastic feels cheap. And you just get used to like just putting your finger on it and be like, this is garbage. It's not PVC. It's not vinyl. It's just like plastic. It has a particular feel. McDonald's toys weirdly have their very distinct feel, like to your fingertip. It's weird. I don't know why. Might be a conspiracy theory around it. So I threw that horse out. So I got that first slice. And then when I was looking for a dark colored one, I pulled out this guy. This one's not in great condition, unfortunately, but it is a Schleich. It's all black, except it looks like either somebody scratched it or they painted it, and it wasn't black before. And I think they painted it because I just took my fingernail and I scratched and paint came off. So this is going to be pretty worthless because it has the horseshoes on the bottom, except they're black. So somebody just spray painted this fucker. That sucks, because that could have been valuable. And when you look at how much time would it take me to get all this paint off, I did scrape some off with my finger. Like the eyes are black. Like, this is dumb. Somebody just did something to this. And if I scratch it underneath, I probably shouldn't be licking my finger and doing this because I don't even know what this is. That's too bad. It's not an old one. It's 2016, but totally worthless. Cannot sell that. This one is a 2004, so that's going to be worth... That's probably going to be like a $15 or $20 horse. When I start listing them. Then we got that white one that I pulled out earlier. So it's glossy. It has a tail that spins around. It's not articulated in any way. It has a seam going completely down the middle. It has no branding of any kind, so that is just garbage. This feels like another slice, but this one's not branded. But it's really good quality, oddly enough. So sometimes the little ones are not branded because they just don't have a place to put it. And it ends up being sold in a set. Now, these kind of look similar, like the legs. I don't know anything about horses, though. But it's the same quality. Sometimes they put the brand like on the inside leg. I'm not seeing it, so this is a good example of when you use Google Lens. Because somebody might know a bit more about it and have it listed with like a corresponding figure. My phone is very old. Takes a bit of time. So I've Google Lensed it. Schleich lot of 3. AliExpress, which is a company that sells trash. So this appears to be a knockoff, more than likely. It's tough to tell. The tail is pretty distinctive on this one. It's gray. There we go. on other ones it looks like it's black. So I'm going to put it aside. And I kind of feel like it's going to end up being with this one, perhaps. They look similar. Or this one, and you can't tell because somebody spray painted it. All right. Next up, we got this guy. His head wobbles back and forth. He has a number stamped on him. And it's a McDonald's toy. And you can tell immediately if something is made for fast food. If I hold it up to the camera, I don't know if it's going to work. The screws are triangular. They're not a Phillips head, they're not straight, they are a triangle. And all fast food figures are made this way. I think so you can't take them apart. I'm guessing because everything is built on liability that if a kid got a screwdriver and took it apart and like swallowed the screw, you could sue McDonald's. So they made it so you couldn't take it apart on, you know, nobody owns a triangular screwdriver. It's not a fucking thing. So your kid can't take this apart. I'm guessing. But anytime you see triangular screws, it's trash. And this is a 2020. That's not of any value for the McDonald's. So it goes in the garbage. All right. So I got this thing. Nice horsey. What does this thing do? There's a button. Oh, it's a wind up. Doesn't really. The wind up feature ain't working, I don't think. Doesn't feel old. Triangular screws again, so but it's odd to have a wind up toy that's a McDonald's toy. Manufactured for McDonald's Corporation. China. Disney. Disney? What is that from? It's gonna be like I don't know, kind of looks like the bad guy from Beauty and the Beast, like Bufo or whatever his name was. The fuck was his name? Kind of looks like his horse. It's really odd they didn't put a year on it. That makes me think it might actually be old. Because wind up is an odd feature for a McDonald's toy. So, go back to the old Google Lens. Gaston is his name. It's not Bufo. I just remembered. Vintage 1998 Mulan horse. So, wrong movie. I never saw Mulan. So 98, this might actually carry value. It's pretty old. Mulan is not the most popular of movies, but you run it not. McDonald's isn't so much a collector thing for Disney people as it is for people that collect McDonald's stuff, and those people do exist. I don't know if the feature is that you drop it, jumps. That's all it's doing. Like, I don't see how this feature could make it gallop. Yeah, I don't know. I'll set it aside. Figure out what I'm going to do with it. All right. We got a little white horse that's very smooth and not a lot of effort put into it. And it's junk. No branding of any kind. We got a big horse, biggest horse in the bag with a brushable mane. It's very smooth plastic as well. It's hollow and feels very cheap. And there's lots of seams on it. And it is a Greenbrier International. Throw that in the trash. We got another black Schleich. Oh my God. But this one doesn't feel painted, which is weird. And it has a detail on it. It has the red on the mane. So I think this is actually supposed to be black, unlike that one. The paint is actually like different too. Like this one is painted. This has to be what it's supposed to be. And that's actually a good detail, and there's no way this is going to come across on the camera. But if you look at the eye is glossy on that one. On the black one that I just pulled out, which has a bridle, which is going to be a nice bonus, because stuff like this rarely comes with all of its attachments. That eye is glossy, but the one that's spray painted, the eye is just flat black because it was spray painted or something. So 2 Schleich in this bag is good. That's good news. We're making some good money on that. That one's no good. I did spend more on this than I usually do. It's a $5 bag, but I knew the Schleich was going to make it worth it. This just says made in China, and it's covered in seams. That's junk. This one has a little more detail. I would be not surprised if this was a Breyer horse. It has a little bit of detail, like different coloring, a little musculature, but not like much in the way of like hair. You know, the mane and tail have hair, and it's a deco pack, which I think is Papo. So this probably isn't going to be sellable by itself because it's too small, and those are not worth that much. And if that happens, I just throw them in a bag, and I wait until I have 3 of them, and I put them together and sell them. And this is another one similar to the other one I already tossed. This one says 1999 horse, made in China. It has that seam down the middle, so it's kind of the same as the one I ripped in half earlier. This one's like actually like held together. Yeah. But it's not going to be worth anything because, you know, when you think about search parameters, what are you looking for? Horse. Good luck. Like, you're never going to sell that. People don't look for just horse. If you don't have a name to call it, brown horse isn't going to really do it for you either. 1999 brown horse isn't going to do it for you. So then I have another bag. And this one I bought because this is a Schleich horse. And it's a $3 bag with 3 horses. And I looked, and this one was Schleich. And I grabbed that. And I think they're all actually that. So again, you got horseshoes, anatomically correct. This one's damaged, unfortunately, and I noticed it after I brought it up. If you look, for one thing, somebody drew on it, and it's like blue and like red. But the issue is the ears are like clipped. Oh yeah, if you cover your face, I think like cameras work better. Is that how that works? This is also like $100 camera. I didn't invest any money into streaming, really. Bulba gear, you can fuck off. Yeah. I ain't doing that. I forget how to delete things. I don't care. Doesn't really matter. Can't you just ban on somebody? No. Well, whatever. Anyways. So yeah, the ears are clipped, which I don't like. I don't think it's worthless, but I don't like the fact that it's colored. And it's pretty bad when you look at it. I don't know if it's going to wash off. So I might end up selling it with another horse. This is a honking horse, too. That's the other thing. The other one is 4.4 ounces. This one is 6. That's a hefty figure. But, that's a 2007. So I might put it with another one just to kind of sweeten the deal because it's not desirable in and of itself. Or it might be like a Wicked Limited Edition one. I'll have to look. We'll get into all that in a bit. All right, so next horse out of that bag, we got, so we put a noose on it. That's not how you deal with horses. I don't really think, put a little more care into it than a noose. This is also Schleich, 2010. But this one has damage too, and that sucks. And I don't know what happened. This one, the hoof is kind of ground off here. Like the horseshoe got ground down. I don't know if somebody was like playing with it rough and like dragging it on a driveway, and it just like abraded the fuck out of it. It's not so bad I can't sell it though. Yeah, it actually affects the balance. It's hard to see. I might actually adjust the camera now that you don't need to see my face. Not that you ever did. But it affects the balance. Yeah, when I do the actually start listing them, I'll move the camera so you can see what the hell I'm talking about. I don't have to hold it up. And last one, Schleich, 2004. That's a good quality one. It does have some damage. It has some dings on it. But it's like a gray boy horse. So. And we're going to start listing them. I'll move the camera. So we're going to, for fun, we're going to kind of get an idea of what I'm going to make off of this. So if you're interested in reselling, you can kind of see what I make. Moving some stuff around. Do this. I use a cardboard box as my background when I do toys. It doesn't look great, like at all. It just kind of works as a background, but the reason I do it is I'm the only one that does it. Everybody does the whiteboard or puts, like a tabletop. But if I'm looking for my listings, it pops. I can see, oh, it's the cardboard. It's me. It has to be me. I'm the only fucking idiot that does this. All right. So we're going to go to intermission real quick. So I don't make anybody seasick. Moving the camera. Let's see. I can mount it on something. Preferably something flat and level. And then I'm gonna zoom some stuff in and get it calibrated, and then we can start looking at the toys, and I'll list them. All right, let's see how bad that is. We're gonna have to do some zoom in and panning here. There we go. Zoom, pan, tilt. Get the phone out. That's not bad, right? Yeah, it's not bad at all, and I can kind of move it, and that's fun. Well, let's see. We got that. I think what I'm going to do is this. How am I up to? There we go. I'll show you the other side of this here, which is when we're determining value. Oh god, that's gonna be confusing, isn't it? Okay. So we know this is Mulan McDonald's. So I was talking about a high supply, low demand. Mulan McDonald's, 2,300 results. Now keep that number in mind. We're going to go, and part of eBay is, yes, there's this many for sale. How many have sold? Because selling, the sold value is the value of the item. Things are worth what people are willing to pay for them. Basic economics. You can see down here, you could pick out which one you want from this buyer. They're unwrapped, anywhere from $2 to $3 plus $3.75 shipping, which doesn't make any sense. They must be offering a shipping deal. Kind of weird. So, if we go to sold items and search again, 159 in the last 3 months. Now this is old, keep in mind. This is over 25 years old, and that's why they're selling. Now these are in the bag, so that's $10. So I gotta find the horse before we get too carried away. I gotta kind of move the edge. I cannot see my computer here. That doesn't really affect anything. I can see, so that's good. All right. We find this horse. This looks like the horse. Sean Yu? Is that the name of the horse? Oh, this is definitely the horse. Black horse figure. Mulan Khan Black Horse. Wind up, new. $8 that's sold for. So we'll put in horse. Narrow this down. We've got 16 results. So these are sealed. 8, 12. These actually do sell because it's 25 years old. So mine's not sealed. This one's doing 3 for like $13. The thing is, the wind-up action I am not super sure of. And when I'm not super sure of something, I do this. I go to YouTube. Mulan McDonald's 1998 toy. And we're going to see if we can find somebody playing with one. Because you're damn right we're going to find somebody playing with one. Is this a DMCA thing to play a video on here? I don't know. So this guy's going to open them. And this, I love YouTube. It gives you the legitimate results of toys. It shows you exactly what it should look like if yours is real. And we're going to get into other stuff on other days that I do this week of how important that is, because you can deal with toys that are known to be fraudulent. All right, so waiting for the dude to wind this up. So mine does that too. He's doing that too. So he's winding it up. And what does it do? You tap it. Okay, that's what mine does. And he seems to be Wondering why? Well, that's how it's supposed to work, and it's supposed to not work, I guess. And that's all right. So now I know I can sell it. And that the wind-up action does work. I will put in my description it doesn't work well. Or that it never did, perhaps. So, we're gonna... There we go. That green button's messing with the chroma, but that's okay. Suppose I could turn chroma off, because I don't have my view behind me anymore. Camera. What the hell are the filters? Filters. There we go. I could, let's see. So I spent $8. I'm going to sell this. And I'm going to do... Now, I saw that they're going for like 12. That one's wrapped up and it's 7, which is not actually worth doing. That you literally make $1. And it's just not worth it. That was 9 wrapped up. That one's a little less. That one's, for whatever reason, 12 out of the bag. I'm going to do $8 free shipping. That's pretty much my standard. And I'm going to sell it pretty quick, I bet. Because they do seem to go. 16 in 3 months is not great, but it's not terrible. And I already own it. So, Mulan, horse, McDonald's. Can't really show you my phone. I list on phones because it's a hell of a lot easier. So what you do is you copy somebody else's listing and they filled in all the information for you, which was nice of them. Already took my picture. All the info is filled in. I will put that wind up works, kinda. That way people can't get upset if it doesn't work the way they thought it would. Anybody buying it isn't going to play with it, obviously. Mulan is not a popular movie. So people that buy this are collecting McDonald's stuff, typically, or Disney McDonald's, for instance. Nobody's buying this because their kid is wicked into Mulan, more than likely, and I just don't think, as a movie, it held up well, perhaps. I never saw it, but it doesn't get the same rotation as a lot of stuff on Disney Channel. And when you talk about reselling and the time you put into it. So basically, I make about $100+ a week profit on reselling, and I work about 2 hours a week on it, so I make about $50 an hour when you count purchasing and sorting and mailing. You know, one of the other reasons I do toys, and if I sell anything while I'm sitting here, I guess I'll list. I have one item sold today. A Schleich thing, actually, a Schleich ostrich. I sold for some amount of money. I'm not sure what I listed the ostriches for. But when I ship stuff, I ship it in padded envelopes that are 27 cents each. So all I do is I print a label, tape it to the envelope, throw the thing in, and away it goes. So I don't put time into packaging. If you're sitting here customizing boxes, which is why I stopped doing so many board games, you make more money for the time you put in. It might take me half an hour to make a box. If it's, I sold Rock Band 2 for PS2, the whole Rock Band in the box kit, and that box was actually there was no box big enough. I had to get 2 very large boxes and cut them both to fit together in a way where I could mail it, and I made, that person paid $120 shipping on that, and paid me $100, and I made, with the shipping bump, I think I made $100 on it. I bought it for $50 at a yard sale, so 2 years ago. So I doubled my money in 2 years. It took up a ton of space, and I was so happy it was gone. So I am listing this now. So I find that the algorithm for eBay, if I list 3 items, I typically sell 2 items shortly thereafter. And I have a storage bin here that I put stuff in, and then I kind of file it over time. So this is a 2013 Schleich. I said I was going to mail something. So a person on eBay asked me today, are you going to mail this? That ostrich. And I said, yeah, I'll mail it later today. And they just messaged me again. Has it made it to the post office yet? If not, will it get there tomorrow? No. I have packages picked up at my house. Computers now have primary control of critical vehicle functions. Now, my profile says that I have 5 days to ship stuff. In fact, they bought it yesterday and have messaged me 3 times today about an ostrich. Does not sit well with me. But whatever. Anyways. So now I lost what I was thinking of. Okay. Schleich, 2013. This, not knowing horses can get tricky. Horses 2013. Let's see if we can find the right one here. Oh, these are all sold listings, so we gotta clear it because I'm just trying to find the one I have. Here it is. That Frisian red ribbon mare. It's a mare, so that is correct. And that one is $13.45 free shipping. So now that I know it's a Frisian, whatever that is. So I don't really focus on how many are being sold. As long as your price is reasonable, it's going to move. Yeah, you can see 4,500 of these for sale because they are highly collectible. People buy them all the time. And the search feature is not great because obviously this doesn't say Frisian anywhere in it. It's showing it to me, but because these are top rated sellers, which I'm a top rated seller, so that's nice. But they kind of throw you a bone there. But anyways, now look at sold versions. We'll figure out what we're going to be listing this for. So here it is. That's $12 or 13 rather, 13, 14. $13. I'm going to sell it for $12. And I'm going to do that because if I sell it for $12, despite the fact there are 4,500 horses for sale, I will sell it first. And what's my exposure on this? Not very much. That was the $5 bag. So I listed the Mulan one. I will make after shipping and fees $3 because I listed for $8. So this one I'll make $7. So we have paid for both bags with 2 toys. This person had better not message me about the ostrich ever again. I have in my eBay profile that I am a grown man with a family and a job, and don't fucking bother me, basically. Like, don't ask me dumb questions. Don't ask me to reduce prices on things. Like, I'm doing this as a retirement. Like, money for retirement. Like, respect my time, basically. But not everybody reads that. So, Schleich, Frisian, Red Braid, Mare, used. And this one's in good shape, so I don't have to put really anything about it. I'm just going to put a picture of it, and people will buy it, because some people take a shitload of pictures of items, and it's time-consuming to list all of that stuff. And I don't know if I lose sales not doing it, but I certainly would lose time. And I'm not down for that. Take a lot of time to take a lot of different angle photos. And having done this for several years, I've learned that I gotta get a weight on it because 5 ounces is different shipping. So this is going to be 6 ounces, unfortunately. So that cost me a little bit of money, but no matter. What I've noticed is people that ask me for additional photos never actually buy the item. So if I take something out and I take additional photos, they don't buy it. I've wasted my time, so I don't actually respond to that anymore unless it's something really expensive. In which case, I'll throw you a bone. But anybody that asks for additional photos of this horse, I shall ignore you. That was quicker. That's how long it takes to list something. All right, next up, we've got this Schleich, which is the 2004. I'm kind of expecting this one's going to be worth more. So, go over here. Cancel out sold. Schleich horses. 2004. I want to say it's like a dunny or something. Oh, there it is. First one. Beauty. Dressage. Hanoverian mare. That one's a little more money, but we'll see. Get my picture. All right. We have the exact one now. So that one's $18. That one's $13. For whatever reason, that one is like 28, 17. These are all over the place. Why is that $25? I don't know. Pricing's all over the place on this. This one has a sticker on it. It's selling less than the other one. These sell really well, and that's a good price. I'm just going to do 15 on it. I think that it's going to move eventually. If I did 12, I think I'd be shortchanging myself, and I don't mind having a small figure hang out for a little while. I don't know how many exactly are for sale. Yeah, so this guy's going to undercut me on 15, though. But there's only one for sale. 2 watchers. This is tricky. It's 1 horse, but it's a picture of 2. So that ain't cool. That guy's trying to fuck you all over. These are really all over the place. That's odd. I'm going to stick to the fact that I'm a top seller with good reviews. And we're going to do 15. This angle makes me have to edit photos, though. Usually I put the cardboard like right in front of my face, basically. Like on the desk, and then it's that backdrop, but this will work. Yeah, I'll do 14. Screw it. That other dollar that I don't make will probably mean I sell it a few weeks quicker anyways. Could be gone by the end of this stream. Weight-wise, oh yeah, this was the 4.4 with an envelope. It's going to end up being 5, so I go over the 70-cent threshold there, which sucks, but whatever. Cats have rediscovered this green screen and that they can use it to fight each other. So I'm a little interested in this horse. This is the one I couldn't really identify. Haven't seen. I was hoping I would run into it as a set for Schleich. I kind of feel like it's an AliExpress ripoff, even though it actually does feel, you know, it doesn't feel correct. It's a little more rough. So I'm going to try Google Lens with the light on. Sometimes that makes a big difference because this tail is white. And that's a bit different. Schleich quarter foul, but it's the wrong color. So I'll pull it up here. Kool-Aid quarter horse is what I'm seeing on here. See, I knew that was mine because the cardboard background. I immediately knew that was one of my horses. That was only $10. Still sitting on it. That's okay. So I guess you'd call it a foal? Is that a baby horse? Foal? Is that it? No, that's like a donkey. The tail, this looks correct, but the colors are wrong. This one's white. It's not paint. Like, nobody painted the hair. The legs are the same. I don't get it. worst case scenario, I'm going to end up just throwing it in a bin. This one's totally, this one here is like identical. That's a Schleich. Like the legs are in the same position. Everything is tail, but it's a different color too. I'm gonna click on it and see if they have a picture of any like markings. Like that's totally the same. Oh, the legs are totally different. Never mind. It doesn't have black on the legs. What the fuck? It's so weird. The only thing I found that looks the same, I'll go to Google. AliExpress Mini Pony Holstein Bowl. And that's the one that I saw. And it's totally like, is that the same fucking thing? The head's not quite. The tail's going the, okay, so this could be flipped. If it's like a mirror, the muzzle's black, the legs are black, the hooves are silverish, the coloring's right, like the gradient is correct. Thoroughbred PVC figure. So I think this is that, and it's a Schleich knockoff, and it's not actually valuable. AliExpress getting in on the action. So I'm going to throw that in a bin, and I'll just sell, like, usually if I do that, I'll sell like 5 good quality horses. So this is the Deco Pack one, and it's really small. Get it. So I think Deco Pack is Papo as a company. Deco Pack horse. So I think that's the one. Yeah, so that's the same one. So the fact it's called Deco Pack. There's 44 for sale. Sold, we have 5. None of this one. It's a weird. This one has like a base. Cake toppers are actually a thing. People buy stuff to make birthday cakes with them, and they just kind of toss whatever's on top of them. But they'll buy cheaper, non-articulated figures to do that. I do sell things as cake toppers quite frequently. So yeah, I don't see the horse there. I don't see this one. So this is the same mold, but a different color. The mane, the tail is all identical. The leg position and everything is the same, but it's a different color. That's like 8. But I would never sell it. So I'm going to go in my bin with the other horse. All right, so we got Schleich. Another 2004, but this one's not in as good of shape, unfortunately. It's got some dings, for toys that people are playing with. That's not the end of the world, but for things that people collect, this is going to gravely affect the value, I think. And the damage, the thing is, the damage doesn't really come out in photos, so you got to be really careful on eBay of like not. I don't take returns because people are fucking ridiculous about things. Like all the time on reseller chats, people talk about like selling clothes and people wear it, and return it because they wanted a dress for some reason. They decide they don't like it after they get it. Like, I don't do returns. You order it because you wanted it. If you don't want it, I don't care. Too bad. I'm not taking it back because you have to pay to have it mailed back. Some people don't think that's a good idea as far as a business practice, but I'm not looking to do this full time. Kind of be ridiculous for me, quite frankly. I have a job with a pension now that pays very, very well. So to get out of that to sell flight horses would be stupid. Let's see if we can find this one. I'll call it Gray initially to kind of track down what it is. Oh, shit, I accidentally cleared that, but that's him. Lipizzaner is what it's called. Lipizzaner Stallion 2004 retired. But I'm not going to get top dollar for it because it's dinged up. Oh yeah, my list. On one and the other one, which I did 14. So that's going to be probably make 8 on it after everything. So 18. Paid 8 for all of these. Have 2 more after this one, and then the black one I gotta figure out what I'm doing with it. The one that's spray painted. I mean, I don't think there's anything I can do with it. I'm gonna make sure it's actually spray painted. Seems like it is. So in descriptions, we're gonna put some damage or some markings on paint. No damage. Yeah, because that's not the one with the fucked up foot, right? That's the other one. That's why I moved the camera, so I'm going to show that the foot was fucked up. And we'll see what these are going for. So that one sold for $2, and can't imagine it would be that cheap. Lipizzaner. So you notice, you run into this sometimes with selling. This is the same horse. Nobody has this background. That doesn't make any sense. It's a different picture of the same horse. But it's a different listing. They're both stallion. The header's the same, but they took like a different picture of it. Actually, no, they did that for a reason. This one is damaged. Why they're selling them for so cheaply, I don't know. Anyways. So this one... So I'm not going to use that, really. Oh, it came with a saddle originally, so that's... If I had that, that'd be worth quite a bit more. This guy's got a ton of these. It's the same dude listing it like different angles. And he sold it for... Oh, I mean, he's billing for shipping. That's the thing. With small stuff, it's just not worth doing, quite frankly. He's got a lot of these, though. So I'm going to have to undercut this guy. This one's kind of bagged up. So I'm going to do $8, which is very cheap for Schleich. It should go pretty quick. So before I forget... A $3 for me. Get a weight on him. 5. We got 2010. And I usually don't list this much stuff in one day, but I haven't been listing it all. I've been lazy about it. And I wanted to do this during the week, so I wanted to make sure I had stuff, because sometimes I just don't source stuff. I did get a bit of toys today. We'll go through tomorrow. Alright. I'm going to figure out what it's called first. It's this one. Pinto Mare. 2010. Yeah, does it have a back face? Is that the right one? Pinto Mare. See different Pinto Mares. I don't know what that even means. Painted Mare? I don't know. Let's go with this guy. That seems to know what he's talking about, maybe. Selling it for $20 almost, so that would be nice. It's not that old though. So it's usually the 90s ones that go for quite a bit. What are we gonna do? Alright. Pinto. So maybe this guy's not correct. What is a Pinto? So go back to just horses. So that is the horse. Got a number. Some of these do have numbers stamped on them. And that ain't even the number. That's weird. 73527 is the number. Okay. So this is from Schleich World of Knights. Because I've sold these before. And that's what that number denotes. This is an armored horse from that lot. Pegasus. But then this, yeah, 37527 is what this guy's saying. It's a different horse though. 3752. Oh, it is 7. Wait a minute. Okay. Pinto Mare. And the thing is, people will copy a bogus like listing, and then that's the only one you'll see. Because everybody just assumes the guy knows what he's talking about, and he does not. But I am unfortunately not seeing, you know, we know, I don't like that it's on a stand. Okay, because these don't come on stands. That's just how they display it, I suppose. Black and white is not a type of horse. So, So the way that they listed this, I feel like they know what they're talking about. 37527 Pinto mares. So 2010, 9, 7, and then a 14 Colt. And maybe Pinto is just like a term for being like spotted. Like a pinto bean. I guess we'll just go with it. Now we gotta look at what they sell for. This one's in good shape, so we should be able to get a decent price on it. That's pretty close. So it's like a 14. That's pretty cheap. 2006. Change it to Pinto? No. Yeah, alright. So now it's more like a comparable value. This guy's the one that sells them for cheap, but he sells a lot of them, so like he must have some idea what he's doing. So this one says Tobiano. It's close. Prices are just all over the place here. I'm just going to do 12. Because I think that's competitive. I don't think it'll sit too long if I do that. It's a little light, I think. It'll be, yeah, we could do 4 ounces on that. Post office likes me, I think. I'm from a small town, and post offices in small towns don't do a lot of business, and I mail, like, quite frankly, the post office makes more money on this than I do, because if I'm selling something for $8, at least half of that is shipping. And then the fees afterwards, and then I paid to buy it. So, the 1,000 items sold in the last 4 years, a minimum of like $4. Yeah, guess it's not that impressive actually. But that $120 box that went out the other day, that moved the needle. So I think if I'm 0.1 ounces off on something, they probably just put their finger under the package until it's just under, and then send it out. I've never had anything returned. So this one's going to be a problem. This is the 07 that has all this like weird discoloration of the clipped ears. So I'm going to have to move this for cheap, more than likely. We're going to get a good picture of the discoloration to make it look bad. That way you can't say, I didn't know, because you did know. Because it looked bad. Alright. So this is a stallion. 2007. Horse. I do like the World of Night stuff. They do a really good job. They don't do it at all anymore, I don't think. Or they sometimes bring it back and they do like fairies occasionally. I got a few of those, but they don't really move as well. I think they're just dipping into... Okay, so this is the horse right here in this lot. It doesn't say what it is. So that... Yeah, that's the right one as well. Tinker Stallion Gypsy Varner. I don't know what part of that is the horse name. Tinker Stallion sounds about right. So we'll put Tinker and see what we get. Tinker Stallion. Okay, so that's what it's called. I don't know what the Gypsy Varner thing's about. But it's discolored and it's probably not going to go well. Now, generally, I'd take like a baby wipe to it and see if I could get that color off, but it's all over it. It might come right off. It might not. And I ain't going to find out. It's kind of not worth my time. So I'm going to list this for really cheap, I think. Unfortunately, these seem to go for a good price, but I'm not going to be able to get that. 12, 20, 20. This guy's super cheap. 10. I'm just going to do 8. That's kind of a big one. I'm not going to... Probably going to make like $2 on him. Because he's heavy. I think I forgot to list one of these on my price thing. Pretty sure I did. I'm guessing around like $28. I paid 8 for everything, so I'll make $20 once they sell as profit. And these will move. They always do. In fact, we're going to pack up that one to go right now, I think. Before I end stream. Alright. Oh yeah, the black horse, I forgot. I also forgot to mention the other one that this guy's hoof had a little damage. I think I'm just going to pretend I didn't know, and then if they complain, I'll just give them their money back. People don't play with them. It's not rocking around, but like, I want to know what the deal is with this. Fleisch 2016. And maybe we can figure out what it is. Let's follow the shape of it. So its head is upright. Its tail and the front leg is up. This is it. Because I scratched off the paint on its ass. Why? Oh, it's another Pinto. A Pinto mare. This is a mare. Why did they spray paint it? I just don't know. If I scratch it. Yeah, this all comes off. This is just... I got a paper towel here. Let's see. I'm just kind of curious. If I can clean it up in like 5 minutes. I really don't think I can, but we're gonna go get a baby wipe, and then I'm gonna grab the ostrich that I sold, get that packed up. wipe. I gotta grab my ostrich. Grab the whole tub. Show off some cool stuff. So got all kinds of nice stuff. Alright. So, my secret weapons for cleaning if I'm trying to salvage something. The baby wipe and a paper towel. So you wet it down a bit with the baby wipe. See, oh, see, it's not coming off, or is that just baby wipe juice? I got some color on here. That got stuff off. And then you hit it with the paper towel. It's dry and it's a little abrasive. So this would take the rest of my life to clean, I think. It's coming off. What I'm going to do, I was going to take a shower anyways. I'm going to put it in the shower and see if it just washes the fuck off. And if at the end of my shower it's clean and ready to go, that's cool. And if not, I'll just pitch it in the garbage. Because it would sell. You know, I'll make what, $6-7 on it at any rate. But let's see how it goes. So, yeah. So I sort stuff in particular ways so I can find things quickly. So I have like high-end figures. So here's, I was talking about like the fantasy stuff that Schleich does. It's like some fairy queen riding a unicorn side saddle. We got a Schleich kangaroo. This is a different brand that's fairly desirable. And then I mentioned Chapmay. And it's not like super high quality. It's pretty decent. I don't know if this guy's jaw's supposed to move. I think you just gotta do that. It's gotta. Oh, okay. There we go. It's kind of like a decent toy, but not a outstanding quality toy. This is a very old Schleich toy, I believe. Nope, never mind. It's Safari Limited. That's like the next step down. They feel a little different. It's still like good detail. It's just the material's different. This is like an old Schleich bear. I already sold quite a few of these. I ended up getting an entire tote of Schleich stuff that I listed individually, everything in it, for about $200. And I've just been selling it, and that's where the ostrich I'm going to sell came from. And we got this. This is from Schleich World of Knights. And that thing is like on there. It's just part of the horse, the barding. But really good quality stuff. And this is the ostrich I sold. For how much? I'll pull it up because I gotta mail it. Put that stuff back. Lose it. In all my years of doing this, I've only ever lost one item. And I don't think I lost it. eBay is weird, and sometimes it'll double list something. So you'll sell it. And then, like, it doesn't track items you've sold more than 3 months ago. So you'll sell it again. And you'll be like, I swear to baby Jesus, I already sold that thing. And you can't find it. Happened recently with some anime figure. Ended up giving one away to the guy to make up for the mistake. And he's actually super cool about it. But then I was out figures. I was out 2 figures, basically. The one I lost, and then the one I had to give away to make up for the one I lost because I refunded them. Yeah, so this is a little ostrich guy. I sold for... I know it's cheap, but I don't like printing a single label because you can get 2 on a sheet. But this person's already been complaining about not getting their stuff immediately, so I'm just gonna go ahead and print it. And hopefully I'll sell something later. I also don't like having the post office lady come down to my package box for an envelope. So they paid $12 free shipping. So it's gonna cost me 4. eBay will take about $1. I'll make 7. Sometimes I look up people's houses to see how they live. A fun endeavor. I vote for Janice Drive, Antioch, Tennessee. I do it because it's just kind of interesting sometimes to see houses in other parts of the country and what they go for. It's probably some kind of breach of eBay policy, but this is their house, the person that bought the ostrich. Looks like a decent house. Nothing too spectacular. That's kind of weird that it's like brick and then like a... I don't know if you'd put an addition on top of your house. That seems like it'd be an awful lot of work for not very much. It's estimated $330,000 to live in Tennessee. 3-bed, 1.5 bath. Yeah. I did find a person that bought something from me that lived in a $1.2 million, basically a shed in like San Diego. I looked it up. And I just didn't understand like why you would do that. You could sell your shed and live literally anywhere in the country in a fabulous home. Or at least much better than a shed. There are parts of the country you can get a beautiful house for like $300,000. After taxes and everything, you'd have like, I don't know, $600,000 left. Not retirement money, depending on your age, but why you'd want to hang out in San Diego, I don't know. It costs that much. And when you look at like time being money, this is why I like toys. Cut out a label. Take an ostrich, put them in a bag, tape a label to a bag, and I'm done. Easy peasy. Well, that goes out in the mail. That's why it takes me like 2 hours a week. You know, like the 3 visits to the thrift shop, those are usually under 15 minutes each. Unless I'm like really going through stuff, but if I'm doing that, I'm going to be making money. If I really have to like dig into a lot, you know, they get like a bunch of stuff one day, that's going to be good for me. That's worth the time. The listing takes a bit. I'm going to be doing a lot of listing this week because we're just going to be streaming it. You know, the kids are on vacation with my wife, so I don't really have too much to do. That works for me. That's it for me. And I'll be back tomorrow with my mystery toy box. Maybe I'll be able to stop somewhere else. We'll see. If not, I got that one toy box. Might sell. Might ship some stuff. But thank you for watching. See you next time.